Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of SkillsBite. My name is Liaquat Ali and I am from NAVAFIZ team. We are here to talk about the internal audit. Today, in the SkillsBite, as you know, if you have seen our previous episodes, we talk about different skills. And the agenda is to support those professionals who have those skills, and with those skills, they can target their positions and to highlight those candidates. So today, our special job seeker or plus very experienced professional, Mr. Noman Ajaz is here. He has done previously one episode of Skills Bite on the topic of reporting, financial reporting, which was very excellent. And welcome, Noman.
Thank you, Mr. Liaquat. Thank you for
And
inviting me.
welcome. And today we have a very honored. We are honored to have Ayaz, who is very senior in finance position as an our expert panel. We are also expecting two more members from our expert panel team, Mr. Hassan and Mr. Shafiqur Rahman. They will be joining us very soon. So once again, welcome everyone. Welcome, Ayaz.
Thank you.
So first we will start with the short introduction of Mr. Noman, and then we will proceed with the Skills Bite session. So over to you, Noman. Stage is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Liaquat. Well, I'm a certified public accountant as well as I'm chief internal auditor, working currently in Pakistan. My educational qualification is CPA and MBA Finance. Further, I have getted the certification of CIA USA, as well as I'm member of IP Australia and AFA UK. And this is my brief introduction regarding my qualification. And regarding my experience, I have almost a decade experience in internal audit and accounts and finance, as well as ERP side.
Great. I think if you can share the slides from your side, then it would be great. Just to update our audience, from our expert panel, Hassan Farooq has also joined us. So first we will go through the presentation of Mr. Noman Ajaz, and then we will go to our experts for their opinion about the presentation and question and answers from Noman. Yes, Noman.
My slides are visible to all of you. I hope that you are seeing.
Yes.
Yes.
This is my profile. Like I already told, I'm a certified accountant as well as chief internal auditor. And this is the SkillsBite third episode. And this is the topic which we are going to cover today. What is the 5 reasons why internal audit is important? How do internal audit provide objective insight? How do internal audit improve efficiency of operations? How internal audit evaluate risk and protect assets? How internal audit assess controls? And how internal audit ensure compliance with laws and regulations of local jurisdiction. This is the topic. Internal audit, basically, people often ask to me that why internal audit is necessary. What if we are a smaller organization? Should we need to spend our already a limited resource to internal audit program? I always say that if your management or if your client is looking at you to provide the inside information regarding the operations, regarding the internal controls, then yes, the answer will be yes. Internal audit department is an important department that need to be exist in any company which is relying on information on the basis of internal audit. Internal auditing is basically an important function for any information security and compliance program and is valuable tool for effectively and profitably managing the risk. When people ask about internal audit, we should ask these questions to ourselves. Are what we are ensuring we are doing what we say we are doing? Means if a company implement a policy, either the policy is implemented in true sense and the people are doing the same as like our policy is saying to us, which is approved from management. Then second thing, are there is any gaps in our policies and procedure? Okay. The third one is, are there any area for improvement? And the last one, are we meeting our compliance goals? If you will see these important questions, then you will find how much internal audit is important for any organization to answer all of these questions. Now, many people ask, what is the purpose of internal audit? Why internal audit exists in any company where already accounts and other departments are working in doing the work for operational activities? Well, the purpose of auditing is internally is to provide the insight into an organization culture, policies, procedures, aids boards, and management oversight by verifying internal controls such as operating effectiveness, risk mitigation control, and compliance. If we go to the internal audit specific definition issued by internal audit department, CIA, which is famous in certification for specifically internal audit job. The role of internal audit is to provide the independent assurance that an organization risk management, governance, and internal control process are operating effectively. So internal audit is the purpose of internal audit is first the verifying the internal controls. Second one is reviewing your operating effectiveness, either how much your operations are effective. Then the third most important thing is risk mitigation. Risk without risk assessment and their mitigation, internal audit is incomplete, or you can say your result cannot be achieved if you are not assessing your company risk and then maintaining the mitigation control plan and the compliance. These are the 5 reasons why internal audit are important for corporate culture, SMEs, small companies, and corporate entities. Basically, internal audit programs are critical for monitoring and assessing that all your business assets have been properly secured and safeguarded. The most important thing is that your asset should be safeguarded once there will be a department who is regularly monitoring and providing the compliance on the asset utilization and their safe program. It is also important that to verifying that the business process reflect your documented policies and procedures. Business process means that at the start of the business or start of the any process, management had set and make an SOPs and policies for the organization's employees to follow. Internal audit is basically a department after the policies and procedures are implemented will review the process with the policies and report if any change they found during this process, or they found any recommendation for improvement of that process. Let's have a look to the 5 reasons why internal audit is important and its purpose in keeping your organization compliance with the common framework and regulation. Provide objective insight. Insight here means that improving your controls, providing the procedures, risk mitigations, reduce your expenses, increase your revenues. Objectivity means that assessing your operations. The second one is that improve efficiency of operations. Internal audit basically help the management to improve the efficiency of operations. I remember when I was working in my previous automobile company, my company has a paint shop department in which our workers put all the parts into a trolley and then put the trolley into the baking oven. When they put in the oven, almost 5 to 6 people have to every time we need that people to for this operations. We as an internal audit recommend that we should improve our process of this paint shop and we should move to automatic conveyor belt. The management has see that recommendation has been received from internal audit department and that discussed in audit committee, and after the approving of that, a CapEx has been approved and that process changed to manual to automated conveyor belt, and the result, what we receive, that the labor is released from that activity, as well the production of the company has increased because of the automated conveyor, the part automatically moving from conveyor to oven, and then after the oven operation, the part is coming back from oven. The third one is evaluate the risk and protect asset. Every internal audit program has a part of risk assessment. Risk assessment is most important function of internal audit. When you categorize your risk in different levels, on the basis of that and you make a risk mitigation plan, that will help to protect your asset and provide the internal audit to assurance that your asset of the company is protected against any type of fraud. Fourth one is assess organization control. Internal audit always assess the organization control on the basis of internal audit. Once any SOPs and internal control is implemented and employees are following that control, when auditor is set and asked a question and reassess your organization control, there might be a material misstatement, that might be a possibility of fraud. Internal audit help there to identify the management, the weak controls, and the recommendation to the management where area need improvement. The fifth important function why internal audit is important for any organization is ensure the legal compliance. Legal compliance is external compliance, which is mandatory of two organization on the basis of their organization structure, either in which they are following, which type of compliance they need to be submit to their local jurisdiction. Legal compliance in Pakistan, in UAE, there are different type of legal compliance. Basically, internal audit is submitting after the internal audit submit the report on legal compliance to the management. So it will making assure that to management that the company is providing the legal compliance as well with the help of internal audit department. As well, legal compliance and internal audit report will helpful for external auditors that company is already established an internal audit department and they are looking into the external compliance as well. These are the short session for today internal audit. If any question, and then I will available for here to give the answer to all of you.
Right. Thank you very much, Noman. It was, I think, a good session. But I would like to have first journal comments from our expert panels. I would like to welcome Shafiqur Rahman, who is president of CPA Pakistan UAE chapter, and he's very active in social services also, and a very famous and big name in UAE, especially in the, if we talk about the finance. And Mr. Ayaz, we have already introduced. And from the expert panel, we have Mr. Hassan Farooq also with us. He will be joining us very soon, as soon he gets his camera and other things adjusted. First, I would like to have the opinion from Shafiqur Rahman. Sir, your review about the presentation, what was conducted by Noman, and then if you have any question to ask. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Brother Liakatari, from founder and chairman of NAVAFIZ. We really proud of you. To be honest, on my point, anything which is adding value for any person who is part of this webinar, by practical, having a theoretical knowledge and practical exposure, he will definitely get the benefits. If someone treating this webinar as a lecture or presentation, I don't think so he will get benefits. So my point of view, the person who is attending this webinar or supposed to know the little bit about internal audit, he must understand carefully, and he should apply those things, especially the main purpose of the internal audit. A lot of people, they have qualification, practical skill. While they are applying those skill in practical, I have seen a lot of our professional, they are in a problem. So this internal audit is not like a thesis or lecture or some sort of the theoretical knowledge. It's purely practical exposure. what the management, the owner of the company is looking from you as a being internal auditor to give assurance against whatever the compliance, weakness, or risk mitigations on the basis of your observation and your possible solution. He will take the decision. So it means how important your role is will be there. So if you understand the real meaning of the internal auditor, definitely all the top management, they will feel and they will understand the key role of the internal auditor. This is what my review on my part, being a professional from the last my 20 years experience working in different organizations, and as well as presently as a partner in audit firm. uh, as a person, Numan Ijaz, he very well attempt, and he discuss in very nice and to the point and relevant. And definitely, unless we will not have the relevant people who is weighing and they have their point of understanding and clarification, we will be there to assist them. So internal audit, first of all, it is purely the professional, and the owner of the company, he must know why I required the services of internal audit and reporters and the relevancy. If you have more clarity in your profession, it means it's a very good profession. So being a practical, being a student, you must understand the main purpose, reason, and the agenda of internal audit profession.
Excellent, excellent. So, from the question or answer point of view, what is the point which you would like to ask from Noman, if he, from the assessment point of view, or you can say, or we can, like,
Yes.
we are, the basic agenda is to show the public or show the audience and show to the hiring authorities that Noman has these skills. So it's like a two-way. So from your question, if he will be able to answer or he will be able to explain in proper way, we will be able to achieve our target in some way.
To be honest, practically, I have observed majority of organization, they are hiring internal audit. Most of the companies, they are involved in production process, dealings in inventory, or dealing is in a process. Where is the real role of the internal auditor? As I said, I believe if you have a practical exposure or knowledge, that will be really helpful, especially people who are just in a process of studying and they want to know, especially those people, they are involved in practical, but they want to know what will happen or what is the solution if the scenario came. So my humble question from brother Numan Ejaz, uh, how internal audit improves the efficiency of operation in production process? I will appreciate if he explain with the example.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for asking this question regarding the operation related. As I already told that previously I worked with the automobile company that was making the car parts for HECPL, Toyota, and Honda Pakistan. Uh, Regarding the internal audit, these audits are conducted by performance audit. When we are going to review our operations, we are conducting performance audit. I remember when I was in my previous employer, with my previous employer, uh, my management was unable to track the working process and the inventory was in productions. When I joined and I see the scope and all the things, I saw that we have a software ERP, but we are not utilizing that software in a proper manner. I recommend to the management that we have just one location from where we are transferring our material to in working process, and after all the process of working process, the inventory move to the finished goods. We have to add our all locations, like our material moved to first die casting department, after that it went to the machining department, after the machining department it went to the quality department, and after the quality department the product moved to the paint shop, and after paint shop the product moved to the finished good. We have to open these locations, and we need to train our linemen and foremen to enter the data into ERP and monitor the daily basis the production of company products. As well, we have linked our machine efficiencies with that locations. We have installed multiple die casting and machining related machines in that company. So what internal audit suggests that there, that if we are going to want our inventory live basis on daily basis and want to monitor the efficiency of our employees as well as our machines, then we have to implement that process. At the starting, we face some challenges that linemen and foremen believe that the ERP and that environment does not suit for linemen to enter the data. For that purpose, we hired engineers for two department, one engineers. The main responsibility of that engineer was to getting the data from linemen and entering the data into the system. The benefit what we received from this process, the management are in position that they can review their machine performance and their daily basis production of the part on daily basis. So internal audit is uh, more important to recommend and process evaluation for these type of process. Before in internal audit department, finance department was there, supply chain department was there, even production and development BD was there, but no one suggested that process improvement. So I believe that internal audit, if you go to the internal audit definition, they said internal audit is basically is to add values in your ongoing operations. So basically internal audit is here to add the values in company operation instead of just leg pulling of submitting reports to the management. Doesn't internal audit that means.
Thank you,
Right,
Hemant.
good. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Shivik bhai, you would like to add some points?
He very well explained. Practically, within a 2 minutes, I will talk in a different format so a common man can understand. Like, in any company, there are different departments: purchase department, sale department, HR department, admin department, and there is a production department. A practical, when someone is coming to that company, I'm talking purely from process point of view. The truck is coming, when he is entering, then there is a gate inward and gate outward. Security, they concern how many truck and what was inside, and then that things come to the company, any organization, big manufacturing company, then definitely there is a relevant person. He will take the goods and he will record in the good receipt note. We speak as a GRN, and then he will call to the relevant department who basically ask for that typical material or item. Then the relevant guy or engineer, he will come, he will analyze, then they will create a GRIR, good receipt and inspection note. And after that, if there is goods are not as per their specific requirement, they will make return book, and whatever they accepted, they will give to the store, and store he will record, and that will be recorded in the store ledger, and then definitely they will place, and there is a documents like a PIN card is a control. And there is another process, like when some relevant department he required this thing, and then they will issue those relevant department by SIR. So these are the typical documentation words, practically speaking. So theoretical, you will never know. So means GRN, GRIN, gate inward pass, store issue, cost of production report. So these all cycles, internal auditor, he must knows. If he knows very well, he apply his competency and skills by following the standards, international standard, either accounting or auditing standard, and definitely he will have a better view and his observation regarding the governance, compliance, and internal audit weakness, and his suggestions. So I just added few things being a practical for Ijaz. If you allow me, I have another question. Should I ask for?
I think maybe we can take one question from Ayaz, and then we will get back to your question. Is it okay?
Yes, I appreciate it.
Okay, right. So Ayaz bhai, first your opinion about the presentation from Naman, and then your question, please. And after that, we will take one question from Hassan Farooq also. Hassan Farooq is with us. He will be joining us very soon. But first, we can take the question from Ayaz. Ji Ayaz bhai, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Liaquat. And Nawan, it was a quite brief but comprehensive presentation which you gave for us. It covers quite theoretical points, quite everything about theory of internal audit, and it was very well explained, elaborated by Shafiq Saab's experienced mind. So I think the practical, certain practical aspects and theoretical points are already the knowledge of our audience now. I would like to know, since NAVAFIZ is a career building platform, I would like to put a question, and I'd like you and everyone else to answer or guide the young professionals who actually want to uh, come into this field, and what should be their educational background, who are the best fit professionals to make their good footprints in the internal audit field. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ayaz, for asking this question for our viewers. That if anyone is interested in internal field, then what type of qualification I would like to suggest. Well, there are a lot of education like CA, ACCA, ICAW, CIA, but that depend on the student what they are looking for. If they are looking for international market, then I would suggest that he should go to the ACCA. ACCA, why I am saying that, for two purposes. ACCA person can work in accounts department as well in internal audit department. Plus, ACCA is a certification which is acceptable all over the world, which will helpful for in future if you want to migrate in UK or Canada or any other country. And the second one, for locally, if like I'm here in Pakistan, then CA and CIA is better. If you really want to go in internal audit department, then you must have a basic understanding of accounting and international reporting procedures and all that things. Once you have all that basic level of information, then you can start your career from lower level. And after experience in internal audit department, you can reach at chief internal auditor.
For the young graduates who do not have a professional qualification, or they are going for a professional qualification, as CA, CPA, ACCA, or CIA. So, what do you recommend as a career path? Like, should they be continuing education along with the professional experience, or they should go for a all-out educational program and then go to the practical experience for the internship, articleship, or whatever? What are, for the understanding of a layman, a new student? Could you just step by step let them know a usual career path for them?
Yeah, I will say if anyone has graduated and he is looking purely internal audit role, then if he have a shortage of time, then I would recommend him to CIA, because CIA has three parts. Okay, and if they have time, they want a long-term certification, then I would say ACCA is the best, and he should move to the ACCA. And after ACCA, more areas are important open for that student for their personal growth as well.
What's the scope for them in Pakistani market? Which companies generally hire? Shafiq Saab actually explained that manufacturing companies usually give preference to have an internal audit department. Are there any other industries like we don't see very big number of manufacturing concerns operating in Pakistan these days at a large scale level, that everyone gets a job in that sector. So what other sectors are there where these people could look for?
Well, other than manufacturing process, there are a lot of companies working in Pakistan, like they are providing the services of import via ports. Like Pakistan is now doing Gwadar port live. Karachi port is already live. So ISP companies are there, services industries are there, hospitality industries are there. So I believe internal audit is a role to add values in a current operations. I agree with you. The manufacturing process is a complicated process to understand and provide the assurance program to the management, but depend on the person how they have knowledge regarding the internal audit and other reporting area. On that basis, you can decide that either you go for
So you are saying that actually the internal audit roles are available for the professionals in manufacturing industries, service industries, hospitality, banking, finance,
yeah.
and everywhere, right? And software and all others. All right. I'll go back to Liaquat if.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much, Ayaz and Naman also. And once again, thank you for patience, Shafiq bhai. I will just take one question from Hassan Farooq, and then I will come back to you. So, welcome, Hassan. And sorry, we are coming to you very late. First, I would like to have your short opinion about the presentation by Noman, and then what's your question, please?
Yeah, thank you so much, Liaquat. Well, it was very quite interesting presentation by Noman. He emphasized on the relevance and the importance for the internal audit, but the more emphasis for the companies and corporates, like internal audit is important and it's relevant to have internal controls in place to uh, to make sure that there is a compliance with the government and internal or regulatory body policies. These all plus internal audit uh, adds value to the organization. But here it comes one question: is the internal audit, like, what is the relevance and importance of internal audit for SMEs, for small and medium sized entities? Like for corporate and big companies, obviously they look for better procedures, better processes. They have external audits, they have external and their stakeholders requirements, shareholders, bank, all they have requirements for internal audit. But for SMEs, is this internal audit is relevant and important because they mainly care about only the profit margins, and for them might be internal audit is like not a value addition. It might be a cost or is a load for them. So what is Noman opinion about this question?
Well, thank you so much for this question. Uh, I will say that if a company is a SME, then there are few points on the basis that I would suggest that if a company cannot hire a regular person in internal audit department or cannot engage a fully internal audit department, getting hired one or two persons, so I would suggest to hire any consultancy firm for internal audit. Why I am suggesting this? Because in SMEs, uh, multiple tasks are being performed by one person or two persons. So in SMEs, the detection of fraud and providing the compliance and the right information to the management chances are low because internal audit department is not exist there. If you hire a consultant for a quarterly review or a annually review, so SME can manage their risk by internal audit function if they go to outsource. So we cannot say that SME is not important internal audit department. Yes, I agree. For SME department, the operations and the load work are not as compared to the corporate sector. But that is important for SMEs as well to engage someone for providing the assurance and services of internal audit.
Yeah,
I'll
yes,
add
Noman,
that for a small medium businesses, uh, as you said, just as Noman said that we do not require a full-fledged internal audit function working all over the year. They can simply hire a consultant and get assignments. I will add that not every area of SME business requires an assessment by internal auditor or a similar professional. They, depending on the nature of business, they can identify specific areas So if some SMEs is in a wholesale business of, say, the food items, so they do not require every operation to be assessed. They can simply go for their treasury and cash and bank handling operations to be assessed periodically by internal audit, not required for everything. So I will just add that every SME needs to evaluate the risk areas, as Noman explained in his presentation, the assessment of risk. So once these risks areas are assessed, an internal audit evaluation could be done in those areas. There.
Well, I will second Noman for this.
I 100% endorse
Right. For
sir.
Yes, Noman, you can continue.
I said I 100% endorse Ayasab answer. I agree that every operation did not need to be audited. Treasury and the most important areas need to be audited if your SMEs has very little operations.
I will add on here, like we can get SMEs can take internal auditor consultants assistance by let them evaluate their internal control deficiencies. So based on the internal control deficiency report, they can put stringent controls in place. So that will help them perform their functions and processes more like more diligently and with more controls. So this report can be helpful. Internal control deficiency report.
Right, good, excellent. So now I will move to the great Shafiqur Rahman Bhai. Shafiq Bhai, your opinion, what has been discussed till now? If you want to add up with the question what was asked by Ayaz and Hassan, plus your next question.
On my part, the main understanding why the company required internal auditing, services. So it is normally required when company owners or management director, they understand we required the right path according to the mission and vision of the company. I remember that I was in Pakistan and there was some special audit conduct for the sales tax purpose. And there was the company, the accountant, he mentioned commission. He mentioned commission on all invoice. And that time, I remember that the percentage of, tax was 22%. And being an internal audit, when I point out this one, the company have almost more than 10 million final penalty against the small words. And we know that we can replace commission word and another words by sample, by promotion or discount or many things. But the law specify mention if you are using the word commission, then it will become under umbrella of 22%. And imagine that because of non-technical person, because there is a role of accountant, role of internal audit and role of external auditor. Owner, they don't know about this thing. But authority, when they come for the auditor, and then the auditor observe and he give his recommendation on the basis of this small mistake, company have to pay 10 million losses, fine penalty to the government. So means that the role of the internal auditor sometime to save the company final penalties. I will give you one more practical, nowadays a very famous topic, FATF. Pakistan under grey or black list, that. Who is going to tell how we have to become or compliance with that FATF? Internal auditor. And before Brother Ayazi asked, other than manufacturing, or as I know that more than 90% all listed company, they have officially must have the internal auditor and company secretary. As I say, before 20 years I was very updated in Pakistan law, but I was telling you almost all banking they have their internal auditor because they understand the role of the internal auditors. So our main purpose to here to give or explore our practical knowledge. So my second question relevant to effective internal control audit in respect of the compliance with the law and regulation. So I would request Brother with some sort of the example to explain.
Well, thank you so much for your question regarding the effectiveness of internal audit control regarding the laws and regulation. I will say that I would suggest to divide in 5 steps. First one, that you need to establish a control environment. The second one is assess the risk. The third one is implement the control activity. The fourth one is communication information, and the fifth one is monitoring. When you are going to establish a control environment, uh, that will help you to move to the second step to assess the risk which are linked for this control environment. The third one is you will implement the control for the effectiveness of internal audit program. The fourth one is your communication information, what you get from this from risk assessment and what you get after the implementation of that control, how much they are effective. You share the communication with management, and after that you monitor that results. So when you run all these process, these 5 steps, that will help internal audit itself to provide the assurance and effective internal control in any organization.
Thank you very much, Brother Numan. So it means the being the role of the internal auditor means he have to apply his skill with the practical knowledge.
Exactly.
Right. Excellent. Great going. I think we are now into the almost final rounds of the questions. After that, we will go to the question which are from the audience or viewers. So before going to that, I asked by what is your last question before we go to this last round, and after that we will conclude it, and also we will cover the question from audience. So I would just request audience, if you have any question, feel free to ask. We have our candidate also with us, and we have our expert panel also with us. So we will get back to you. There are some questions already in the queue. We have question from Waqar Ahmad and Masroor Khan, and some from the Facebook also. But we will get back to that. Before that, over to you, Ayaz bhai.
Thanks, Liaquat Saab. No one, you just said some 5 steps, which we say that they are to mitigate the risk of override of controls. So you think that is establishing a control environment, monitoring those controls, information and communication, and then addressing that risk. Can we have a practical example, like a very quick, a 2-minute practical example? What is a control environment? Like everyone may not understand when we say establish a control environment, and when we say that monitoring those controls, what does that mean actually? Can we have some examples, or maybe more layman language for our audience?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. You asked first about the control environment. What is control environment? Control environment is basically to making a process which can be verified later. Suppose you are running a company and you have a process that, like Mr. Shafiq already said, in a company, normally all that companies, when you order something to your supplier, the goods received at your company premises, the first document generated by internal gate pass. At the time of gate inspected that goods and make internal gate pass. After that gate pass, the product moves.
That's it. That's a great control environment. That's a very great example of control environment. Let's stick to it and explain each and every step with this control environment. For my audience, I'll say that introduction of gate pass, that everyone who will passes through security gate, whether with goods or services or whatever, he will have to have a great gate pass. So this is a control, and establishment of gate pass is a control environment. Now let's go to the second step. What is the monitoring of this control and information and communication? And let's stick to this control and explain it.
If I move to the second process, that monitoring of that control, you have a gate pass system, and your gate pass system is fully functional. Here, the second role is started by internal audit department. internal audit department evaluates that data on the basis of a selected samples and make any change found if they found any change between the approved SOPs by the management and if there is any variance. Suppose like management has approved some material need to be processed through this process, like after the gate pass system, the process directly moved to the quality control, and we saw as an internal auditor that product is not moved to the internal audit department, the product is directly moved to the purchase department, store department, and store department received that goods without the quality audit. And for that process breach, when the product is moved to the operational line, the project is rejected. So if this process is not monitored by internal audit, suppose, then there is a lack of uh, company opportunity loss for production as well, the weakness of control that the gate department is not following the SOPs of the approved company SOPs to send that specific product first to the quality department and then move to the next phase.
Let me add, brother Ayaz, he asked a very good question. I remember that I was working in Pakistan, very big group of company, Nishat Mills, who was dealing in textile items. And you know, the next company was dealing in rice. And you know, both are linked together, and the truck came, the gate inward, you know, when the things are coming, he make the security guard how much of the quantity, how many the truck, how many inside the you know, bales or the per packet. So these are the things, you know, attached. There is an invoice, there is a delivery note, all these things he received. And you know, different department, he will send one copy. You have seen that. Being internal auditor, he apply their first check. What brother Yazi want to explain you in a way to people can understand. He make the receipt. Company was dealing in textile, you know, sector, but he is receiving the rice.
Exactly.
So it means
that's the monitoring of control actually gives you, yeah.
This is the first as a practical thing. Means he should understand the person, like whatever the documents I'm receiving or goods receiving, it is relating to my company or not. This is the first test. Otherwise, you know, being internal audit, he deliver the thing, truck came, quantity, everything. When they unload, and you know that long process to return back. When something enter in the company, it is easy, but to go back, it's a long process because they have the check and balance. So brother Ayaz, he asked this question. So the best control is there, the relevant or the to the point or whatever the company deals, that should be properly received, and that should be authenticated by the relevant authority person. I just add as an example.
Yeah, that means that when control environment exists, but it is not effective. That's perfect example of that.
Yeah, well, considering Shafiq point regarding this textile example, as a layperson, internal audit, what layperson thinks internal audit is. They think that internal audit means auditing or finding out the fraud. That is not, the internal audit scope is not limited to identifying or finding out the fraud. The internal audit scope is beyond that. And if, let's suppose, they are thinking internal auditors are person in the company who are responsible to identifying and finding out the fraud. But here it comes question relevant that like Shafiq mentioned, Mr. Shafiq mentioned that monitoring of control is also important. Now that if there is a control in place that is not effective or the efficacy of that control is not relevant, then there is no benefit of the control. So here it comes, is internal audit function has capacity to mitigate 100% risk of the fraud or no? This is a question for all the panel plus Noman to you also.
Well, I believe through risk assessment and risk mitigation, fraud can be prevented, but first they need to implement such things in their organization to get the 100% mitigation result. They need to establish a control environment. The second one is they need to make a policy related to the fraud. They need to make a non-disclosure policy. If someone came and report to the management about the fraud and misstatement, then the information will not disclose to someone. And the fourth one is they need to make a whistleblower policy in a company that if they, any employee, any department found that finance department or operation department is involving in fraud activity, and these risks, internal audit want 100% mitigation through this. So these policies are helpful. First, they need to implement in the organization, and then on the basis of that policies, employees are more openly to communicate to the management if they found any type of fraud activities, especially. In the last one, I will suggest that if you want 100% compliance on mitigation to fraud, then your HR department should strong compliance regarding hiring the right people for right job with relevant skills.
Right. Excellent. So I think now we can move on to the question from the audience. I would request expert panels to help Noman if he is having any issues. And after that, we will go to the closing remarks and wind up session. Some of the comments are just general greetings. For example, Masroor is just saying hi. Masroor Anwar is a very good friend and expert in finance field. There are some comments, similar comments from Facebooks also, just to appreciate Noman and NAVAFIZ team. Then we have one point from Waqar Ahmed. He's saying hi. Just to add, the role of IAD does not include application of internal control. The only requires to evaluate the control in place by the management. So I would request Shafiqur Rahman actually to respond on that if possible.
I think he is going to ask IAD internal auditor. He's asking the role to add the role. Which is not include the application of internal auditors, internal control, sorry. As Brother Roman, he discussed, the internal control 100% cannot, deduct fraud and errors or internal weakness. By applying process and procedures, it helps to mitigate the risk and fraud. So it means how best you have internal control, it minimum the risk of fraud and errors. Example, like for example, company deal is in cash. So what we suggest, let's use more banking channels. This is one policy. For example, cashier, he have minimum 1 day limit is 10,000 rather than 100,000. So one day if he have 100,000, so it means he did not follow the compliance. So there is a risk of 90,000 to the companies. So internal audit help him to understand and mitigate the risk of the companies. For example, he in any case he have to keep minimum balance is 100 or 200,000. Then internal auditor he advise him go for the fidelity insurance. And who is person dealing to the bank for taking cash or giving cash or transit, involved in cash? How company he cannot, terminate, or he cannot stop any the risk or fraud, but they can minimize the risk by taking a insurance which is called fidelity insurance. So let me understand the real role of the internal auditors to keep the company under the fully compliance and safe from the fines. So this is the main agenda of the owner of the management of the company, to appoint and recruit the internal audit to keep away all these type of the harms or challenges, and they have the possible solution companies to save or face those challenges to the company.
Right, excellent. Now we will move to next question. The next question is from Waqar Ahmed. What is the scope of internal audit department? So if Mr. Noman, can you put some light on this?
Well, thank you so much for this question. Scope is a thing which is decided by the management. not itself by internal audit department. In a corporate company, there is an audit department which is governed by audit committee, and there is an audit committee chairman who first sit with the internal audit chief and make an internal audit charter. In that charter, the scope has decided that in which areas that the management think that we need to be audited, finance, operations, or we need to limitize our internal audit department for that area. So scope is always based on the management approval. And the second one, in a small company, sometimes management asks internal auditor to make a scope on the basis of their knowledge. So auditor make the scope on the basis of their own knowledge, on the basis of different department. Previously, they work in different organization and provide the assurance to the company.
Right. Mr. Ayaz, would you like to add something to the answer which is by Noman, or is it okay? We
No,
can go
actually,
to
it is quite perfectly answered by Noman. But it actually addressed the both questions raised by Mr. Waqar. I will just add, I'll just add a few lines. Like I humbly disagree with you, Mr. Waqar, that it does not include the application of control. Actually, it's a wider scope. Generally, internal audit has a more wider scope than actually understood. And as Noman said, that it even includes the design of those controls at some places. It includes the application of controls as well and evaluation as well. So just to add, which Noman has actually perfectly answered that.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. So now I think we can go to the closing remarks. So first I would like to have remarks from Hassan Farooq. Ji Hassan, what's your closing remarks and final notes? So we can wind up the session step by step. Yes.
So, like, what I can conclude from all this session, that internal audit is important either for corporate companies or for small companies. For corporate companies, they need an internal audit function permanently to be set up for their businesses. But for SMEs, they can hire a consultant to get an internal control deficiency report, and then based on that deficiency report, they can improvise their systems and functions. And so internal audit is important if you want to put stringent, if you want to add value to your business, and if you want to make sure that there is compliance with the policies and procedures, either it's internal or external.
Right. Excellent. And once again, thank you very much. And we will be hope next time also you will be part of the great discussions. Over to you, Ayaz bhai, your final notes and remarks.
Well, great, good, comprehensive presentation by Noman. He covered everything in his presentation, and great insights by Shafiq Saab. I will thank everyone here.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. And then I will move on to Noman for his final words, and last remarks will be by Shafiq bhai. And before I take comments from Noman, Ayaz bhai, thank you very much. Hope to see you next time.
As in closing remarks, I will say that thank you so much for NAVAFIZ for giving this platform me to share my skills, as well as president of CPA Pakistan is here. He is the president of UAE chapter, and my other colleagues are there, Mr. Ayaz and Mr. Hassan. So once again, thank you so much, my seniors, for this session, and NAVAFIZ as well.
Thank you very much. And sir, final notes from your side.
Thank you, Brother Liaquat Ali. First of all, I really appreciate always being a taking step, which definitely bring people, they have the knowledge and skill, and they are doing activity which add value. And also I'm really thankful, Mr. Noman Ijaz, very well done. He explained the real meaning of internal auditors, what is the scope and the purpose and the reason, and what should be the knowledge And he also give a very good reply to people. They are looking for the education career in financial. Either they have to go for the ACCA, CIA, CFA, CMA, or CPA. And also we try to be share with the practical knowledge by discussing the a little process. It's a very difficult within a 1 hour to discuss the whole cycle. But for the more clarity or understanding, as an internal auditor, the basic point, he should be understand the scope of his work, and according to scope his work, he has to apply his all practical nodes, or the standards and the compliance. Because as per scope, he will understand and he knows what the requirement of my management being internal audit on my part, and then he will apply to the relevant and effective approach and tactics, and then he will come to the weakness or observation. And when he share those observations which are on facts and figure or sporting or logical basis, and he will give his opinion against those observations, then it will help to the management to apply those observation and his opinion to the practical, to come back with the real practical solution for the companies. So this is overall structure or understanding for the internal audit. I wish we try our best to add value, being a profession in our internal audit, practical exposures. And I will really appreciate people who join us. And I will say, feel free, as we are like a family. NAVAFIZ is one of leading, platform which is providing you the opportunity. You can come a forward, step a forward, and join this one as a one of the speaker, as a one of the participant, and tell us what further things we have to take to promote this NAVAFIZ platform for the most effectively helpful to our audience and our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. It was really a great show and a great thing. I would just like to add one thank you note from Govinda also. He's saying thank you and informative session. So thank you, Govind. Thank you very much. And I would request at the end to my audience and viewers and professionals to come forward and give your suggestions and ideas how we can improve these sessions in more better way, how we can help you. So we need basically your help so we can support more professionals and more candidates. Stay in touch. Take care. Allah Hafiz.